Good morning. Today we're going to look at Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 to 10. It's the story of the centurion who came to Jesus, whose servant was sick. Let me read it. As Jesus entered Capernaum, a centurion came forward to him, beseeching him and saying, "Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home in terrible distress." And he said to him, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion answered him, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard him, he marveled and said to those who followed him, "Truly I say to you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." Thinking about faith this morning. Faith, the Bible definition of faith is found in Hebrews 11, really. Hebrews 11 verse 1 says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Now, this man, this centurion, he was a Roman. He wasn't a Jew. He was a Roman. And yes, he knew that it would be very difficult for Jesus to go into his house because it was a Gentile house, a non-Jewish house. And Jesus would have become unclean visiting his house. But that wasn't really in his mind for consideration. He didn't say to Jesus, "Don't come to my house because you know about the Jewish Gentile rules and everything." He didn't say that. He talked about being a man of authority. And he believed that his servant would be healed without Jesus coming to him. And when Jesus said, Jesus said to him at the end of this passage in verse 13, and to the centurion he said, "Go, be it done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed at that very moment. He believed the servant would be healed before he saw it. He believed Jesus had the authority. He was a man of authority. He knew that his word was law. In his regiment, his word was law. In his house, his word was law. Everyone did what he had told them to do. There was no question, absolutely no question. He held the authority in his house. The Roman authority of a man within his house, let alone a centurion, was enormous. The servants belonged to him. He could whip them. He could lock them up. He could do anything he wanted. He could kill them if he wanted to. There was no law against it. They belonged to him. And he knew that if he said to one, "Do this," he would do it without question. Immediately, he wouldn't hesitate. The authority that he had. But his faith was shown in that he believed Jesus could speak a word. And it was enough. It would be done. There's no question in his mind that just as he gave the word, he spoke the word, it was done. Jesus speaks the word, it is done. He believed his servant was well the moment Jesus spoke the word. He didn't believe it when he saw it. He believed it when Jesus said it. He believed the authority of Jesus. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for. He was certain before. He hoped his servant. And the hope here is Christian hope, not the sort of, I hope against hope, not the sort of, let's touch wood or whatever it is, whatever superstition your culture holds. Hope against hope? No. He was certain. He was certain that it would happen. He didn't just hope against hope that his servant would be well, he was certain that Jesus would. And Hebrews 11 goes on to say, by faith we understand that the world was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was made out of things which do not appear. I don't know what you believe about the creation of the world, but our faith, the word of God says, God created the world. It doesn't say the world evolved. It says everything was made of its own kind. There was no changing kinds. There was no moving from one animal to another. That's not how God created it. That's what the word says. Now, many people believe the Bible and they have more assurance. And I tend to be a bit like this myself, I must say. I'm thrilled to bits when archaeologists discover a fragment of a pot or a piece of papyrus or something that has a word in it that is in the Bible that nobody has ever heard in history or seen evidence of in history before. And it supports the Bible when archaeology finds things that they didn't expect to find. And it's wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful when they find things that support the Bible. But we shouldn't only believe the Bible for the bits that have been supported by history. We should believe the Bible for everything it says. Because it's faith. Faith is believing what God says, even when there is no evidence to support it. You remember Thomas at the end of John's Gospel? Thomas, who wouldn't believe that Jesus was risen from the dead, even though all his companions, who he had worked with and spent time with for 3.5 years, these trustworthy men, they all said that Jesus had risen from the dead and had appeared to them. Every one of them said it. Cleopas and his companion said Jesus had appeared to them. The women said Jesus had appeared to them, but Thomas wouldn't believe it. He wouldn't believe it. It's in John chapter 20. He wouldn't believe it until Jesus appeared, until he saw his hands and his feet. He didn't believe it. He didn't have faith for it. And Jesus said, have you believed because you've seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. Faith is about believing before we see it. Trusting God when there's no reason to trust him except that God is trustworthy. Faith is about holding on to things that before we see them. If we only believe God for the things we've actually seen or actually experienced for ourselves, we're not walking in faith. Faith is about believing that when we ask God for something, when we trust him for something, he will come through on it. He will not fail us on it. However long it takes, he will not fail on his promises. Sometimes it takes a very long time. The evidence is there in the scriptures of saints of old who waited years for the answer to a promise. But they held on, knowing, having certainty before it happened that what God had promised would happen. Just like this centurion, he believed that Jesus had the authority to speak the word and at a distance for his servant to be healed. He believed his servant was healed before he saw him healed. He believed it. He had faith. And Jesus said, not even in Israel have I found such faith. Wonderful. God grant us faith to trust him before we see things, to think about the things we've asked him for. And if we've had to wait, not to lack in faith, but to trust and to know he will come through on his promises. He always does. He will. Absolutely. But sometimes God holds things back from us to develop our faith because he wants us to walk by faith and not by sight, and certainly not by feelings. We shouldn't be walking our Christian walk by feelings. We should be walking by faith and by the Spirit. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.